There's this here planet, and it kind of got wrecked because the people who are also cyborgs, they were fighting over this cool resource. But so these dudes, the great beings, they sent out this giant robot guy, Matanui, to like research the universe and then come back to teach them how to not kill each other over some dumb resource. Meanwhile, inside of the robot, he's like super big, and these guys are like the size of children. There's these guys, Matoran. They're basically like little worker robots that make sure everything's a-okay. And Matoran can also turn into Toa, which are like the warriors slash protectors and stuff. The Toa can turn into Turaga, which are like the elderly chieftains, and they make sure the Matoran and stuff are doing what they're supposed to be doing. Yeah. And then there's this guy, Makuta. He makes like animals and stuff. But he got kind of jealous of Matanui, so he decided to try and overthrow him and be ruler of everything inside the robot and stuff. His plan was actually inspired by these guys, the Baraki, who he tried to take over the quote-unquote Matoran universe, is what they call it. But they got defeated and turned into like fish people for some reason. This is Metru Nui, the capital city of the Matoran universe, and it's located in Matanui's head. A lot of stuff happens here, like there was a civil war one time, and Matanui started dying, so these Toa had to go and use this thing called the Mask of Life to kind of like jumpstart him back to life. Oh, by the way, pretty much most things here wear masks, and they give them superpowers and stuff. So this guy, totally calm, realized that Makuta's probably gonna like try and take over Metru Nui, so he summoned this new team of Toa called the Toa Metru, and they kind of lost, but they also kind of won because like Makuta ended up getting the city. The Toa had to run away, but they did save the Matoran, which was arguably the more important part. When Makuta took over Matanui, Matanui, he fell asleep and fell into this ocean planet, and then an island formed over his face. That's where the Matoran started living. So, to keep them away from Metru Nui, Makuta tormented the Matoran on the island, which they called Matanui, until the Toa arrived, but not the Toa Metru, because they got turned into Raga. There were 6 Toa. There's Tahu, Gali, Pohatu, Kopaka, Onua, and Liwa. And their goal was to reawaken Matanui and stuff. So they fought Matanui's forces like some animals, and also these bug-looking things called the Borak, which technically weren't actually bad guys, but Makuta used them as bad guys. So then the Toa get upgraded and turned into Toa Nuva, and there's this other guy. He turns up. He's the prophesied 7th Toa, Takanuva, Toa of Light. So Takanuva, he goes defeats Makuta, and they all, the Matoran and whatever, they all make their way back to Metru Nui. And then the Turaga discovered that Matanui isn't just asleep, but he's also dying. And if he dies, then everyone dies. So they gotta go and find the Mask of Life to bring him back to life. So they send the Toa Nuva there. But when the Toanova didn't return, these Matoran, Jaller, Kongu, Matoro, Huki, Howley, and Niparu, they went after them to like save them or something. So long story short, the Matoran they turn into Toa, and they fight these snake-looking dudes called the Paraka, and they ended up actually getting the Mask of Life, but that just yeets itself into the ocean. After encountering the Baraki, which are now fish people, and also a lost city of Matoran, so like Atlanta style, the Toa managed to retrieve the Mask of Life. Toro sacrificed himself to use the Mask of Life to save Matanui, and it was actually kind of sad because he died and he was a good character. Anyway, the Toanuva are back and they're as silver as ever. And now they're fighting in the skies with a whole bunch of Makuta. Meanwhile, the rest of the Toanuva are fighting some other insect-looking Makuta in the swamps below. Meanwhile, Takanuva is silver now, and the Mask of Life, who's alive, apparently made itself a body, but then it killed itself to save everyone. Long story short, Makuta died, but the Toanuva get out alright. After all this time, after all this fighting, Matanui finally rises. He is awakened. But then he and the Mask of Life get yeeted out of his body, and Makuta takes over everything. So he found himself on that planet he was built on, and found out that people were having problems, they were fighting, so he made himself a body and started solving everyone's problems. While he was there, he made some friends and learned how to be a person and grew as a character. And then he happened to this giant prototype So basically, Matanui's purpose was to fix the broken world. So now he's using his awesome powers to try and do that. But then Makuta comes in and out of nowhere and just starts beating him to a pulp. Meanwhile, on the ground, Tahu and the gang find themselves fighting against these snake-looking creatures called Rakshi that Makuta made. Tahu puts on this cool golden armor and absolutely obliterates the Rakshi. Makuta was busy beating Matanui into a pulp, but then he realizes that all his Rakshi are dead, so Matanui uses this opportunity to kill him. He uses the last of his power to like repair the planet, and everyone's happy, and yeah, they all lived happily ever after.